Hey guys, John V here from Phone Reno. Right now you're watching our in-depth video review of the Asus Memo Pad HD7. It's available right now, and if you love the Nexus 7 but want it to be a cheaper price point, you're gonna like this one just because it starts off only at $150 for the base model and features things like an HD display, a quad-core processor, and even a rear camera as well. Whereas the Nexus 7 had one pretty good design for a 7-inch tablet, the Asus Memo Pad HD7 is a lot more cheaply made. We see that in its construction and its choice materials. A little bit hollow there towards the middle, and we hear some creaks around the edges as we hold the device. It's made of plastic, but the nice thing about it is that it's available in a different color, so at least you have that variety. It's not the skinniest or the lightest tablet out there, but it's decent. It's modest, it's humble, nothing extraordinary, but at least it works in the end. As its name implies, it features an HD display. It's not 1080p per se, but it's a little bit better than 720p. To be exact, it's a 7-inch LED backlit WXJ IPS display, so that's 1280 by 800 pixels, and does a pretty good job when it comes to details in the web browser. We're able to make out even the tiniest of text, no issues at all. So it has a good amount of sharpness and clarity to it. With its color reproduction, it's a little bit more on the warmer side with its tones. The things that distract us is just that there's a little bit of distortion at wide angles that we notice with colors, but besides that, it's pretty good when it comes to outdoor visibility, and overall we're quite pleased with what we have here. Nope, there are no separated Android capacitor buttons with this one. They're actually all integrated with the platform. For a tablet and all, it's nice to find that it's outfitted with two cameras, a front-facing 1.2 megapixel one, and of course a rear 5 megapixel one for a little bit better results. Around the sides of the tablet, we find all the usual suspects. We have a dedicated power button and volume control. They're distinctive to the touch. Decent response. You have a 3.5mm headset jack with the microphone right here and the micro USB port for charging data connectivity. And we also have a very useful micro SD card slot to supplement its internal capacity. It's available in 8GB or 16GB. And lastly, we have the notch right here at the bottom for its internal speaker. It might not pack the most comprehensive Android experience on a tablet, but Asus does a good job here with the Memo Pad HD7. Now, you could tell it's running a customized version of Android 4.2.1 Jelly Bean, just because of the widget right here on the home screen. If we take a look at the notifications panel, we have all the connectivity features at a quick glance at any time. The app panel is laid out in your traditional grid-like view, but they really retool things when it comes to multitasking. You have this floating apps and widgets selection here, which basically allows us to layer different certain applications on top of whatever we're doing. So let's say, for example, when we're in the web browser, we could still gain access to the calculator, the video player, and other things. So it's pretty nice that it has that. And like we said, it's not as deep compared to some other Android experience out there, but it's at least going in the right direction. Another area where Asus tinkered around with the tablet is found with the personalization aspect with the platform. Of course, we have all the set of widgets we could use, but in addition to that, if we do a pinch gesture once, we could have these different scene modes for different things. For example, we have one for entertainment, one for work, and we could also create a custom one if we want, and it's just nice that it's available with this. Running the show behind the scenes is a quad-core 1.2 GHz processor with 1GB of RAM. It's not the most demanding hardware, but nevertheless, it's more than ample for the task at hand here. Every now and then we'll see some jittery movement or some sluggishness, but it's never too bad. For most basic things, it's able to accomplish relatively well with minimal fluff, and overall, we're pleased with the results out of it. Another area where we see some influence from Asus is found in the way we access Google Now. So for example, if you hold down the home button, we'll have this dial here, which allows us to get into certain applications right at any time. So you can jump into the calendar, the calculator, the Supernote Lite application, the Studio, the web browser, and also the Google Now, of course. We really can't complain about the web browsing experience here just because it has all the qualities that we love about a fantastic experience. For example, you have fast page loads, you have smooth navigational controls, and rendering is pretty good on the fly as well, so it can't be beat. The only music player application that's preloaded with the device is the Google Play Music application, so it's the same thing we find on any other Android device, so its functionality and presentation are identical. Now, as far as the audio quality from its speaker, we gotta say it's a little bit on the weak side. It lacks any commanding presence with it, and on top of that, it pretty much drowns out in noisy environments. For an entry-level tablet, it's pretty amazing that Asus throws in a lot of cool shooting modes and controls here with the tablet. For example, you have different shooting modes, panoramic, HDR mode. You could have all these cool camera effects in play. You could change the resolution, the exposure adjustment, the ISO. And when it comes to video, not only you have 1080p video recording quality available, but you also have time-lapse interval, which is pretty nice. On the right side, you have a dial here, which allows us to do a digital zoom, and of course, separated buttons for video capture and snapshots. A tablet wouldn't necessarily be the first thing we grab for taking photos, but the 5-megapixel autofocus camera of the Asus MemoPad HD7 does a decent job as long as there's sufficient lighting. So when it comes to outdoor shots, it takes some average looking details with some rich colors. Indoors though, under low light conditions, its quality lessens, of course. We tend to see more graininess, some noise, and of course some softer tones in general. But for the most part, as long as you're using it outside, it produces some pleasant shots. At the same time, we can't complain about its 1080p high-definition video recording quality. It gets the job done. Same results as we see with its still image capture, average-looking details with some subtle-looking colors. The only distracting things that we find is that its exposure adjustment's a little bit on the jittery side. And on top of that, we tend to see just a little bit of noise, which is most profound when you're shooting something in lower lighting conditions. It does feature digital zoom, which is nice, but again, of course, the quality doesn't enhance in any way whatsoever. And finally, it does feature focus on the fly, but it's not continuous. You'd actually have to tap on the screen for it to adjust. It's not the class leader in the space, but we're more than happy with the battery life here with the Asus MemoPad HD7. With our normal usage, which consists mostly of surfing the web and sending out emails, we're able to get a day and a half of battery life with it. If you're on a budget, you really need to keep in mind the Asus MemoPad HD7 just because of its super affordable price point of $150 for the base version. That's pretty impressive, and you're going to save a lot of money with that. But of course, being $150, its design isn't the most flattering out there. It's a little bit on the cheap side. But then again, you have some cool features like front and rear cameras, a pretty good performance out of it, and the HD screen is pretty pleasant too. So for the price point and all, definitely worth it. If you want to spend more, we'd still recommend the Nexus 7, the 2013 model, but this is a good alternative if you're just really strapped for cash. So if you'd like to learn more about this tablet, guys, you could check out our website, phonearena.com. It's John V. Thanks for watching.